Peace to the planet Earth. Yes, we are live on a impromptu Monday. As always, thank you for joining us here on the Mo Life Show. Mo, what's good? What's happening? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. A little tired, but I'm good. Been working all day, traveling, and I'm here in Pennsylvania for the what we're discussing this evening for the town hall meeting. But other than that, I'm good. You know me. Keep it
Yeah,
moving.
yeah.
How
I'm
you
I'm
feeling?
I'm tired. Last week having a holiday on a Tuesday threw me off. I hope we never do that again. I like my holidays Mondays or Fridays, preferably. But no, I'm good. And you said you're in PA. You're to partake in this event, which we're talking about today. What are we talking about today?
Today we are discussing wrongful convictions. Well, tomorrow we have the big town hall meeting. With a bunch of state officials, attorneys, prosecutors, those who've been wrongly convicted. And what we want to do is discuss uh, the effects of wrongful convictions. And the platform is just discussing, like, what is the remedy? Like, because this can't keep happening. There's a lot of lives have been taken, a lot of lives. Hundreds and hundreds of years of people who actually have been wrongly convicted. Their lives have been taken away from them from due to just misconduct. Um, just how it is, life. You know how that goes. So we just want to have a nice discussion this evening in reference to it and try and get this movement going and discuss these matters because it matters clearly and it
Yeah,
counts.
I think what we don't you know what you don't think it happened to you until it happens to you.
Yep.
And somewhere, maybe even today, maybe right now as I'm speaking, right now, somebody can be getting evidence planted on them. Somebody can be being lied on. Somebody can be being misidentified. There
Hmm.
are definitely people sitting inside of prison cells right now for crimes that they did not commit. We know that. Obviously, we've got a couple guests up here today. One of them is an example of that. Um,
Yes.
who
Yes.
can you
Marvin
give me some
Robinson.
before you introduce our guests? Can you give me some of the names of the people that are going to be on this panel, or what? Who else is going to be up?
Um, Marvin Robinson, who's on the show this evening. The beautiful Latasha C. Williams, the attorney who's running for judge out in Dauphin County. We are actually honoring as well Lorenzo Johnson. This is his anniversary. Tomorrow will be his anniversary, and it's all triggered, like around him and his situation of his wrongful conviction. We're gonna have him on our show in about a month or so because his story is crazy.
Right.
We will have oh goodness, who else? Who else? Uh,
Let me
we'll
see. Let me
have
see.
state, like I said, state officials. I'm sorry, names is just slipping my mind. I apologize. Jeff Deskowitz, who is now an attorney himself. He spent several years incarcerated on a wrongful conviction. He's just out here doing great. Kalia Ali, she's an activist. She's Muhammad Ali's daughter. We have an amazing lineup tomorrow. So, I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about that too. An amazing lineup tomorrow, and an amazing lineup tonight. We've had our first guest. She's been up here before.
Hmm.
Um, for me, it's always about meeting people that are doing things that aren't normally done or aren't done on a regular basis or doing it for the first time. And that's for me, that's something that she represents. But I also know she's obviously got a strong voice and understanding when it comes to law and the judicial system and
Yeah.
everything else. Can you introduce our first guest as we bring her up?
Well, our first guest is my sister, one of my best friends. She's the reason why I'm in this game and assisted over a dozen people to get home with their freedom. She gave me the blueprint. paved my own way. I filled in the gray and made my own lane, and just as an advocate and just twist and turned it, to the way Monique does things. And now I'm a household name, and I will always give her homage and credit for that. And she's running for judge in Dauphin County, the first Black Democrat woman, the first Black woman making history to ever run. Let's get her in office. She's going to be a fair judge. She has solutions, and she's absolutely incredible. And with further ado, let's bring on the beautiful Latasha Williams.
How are you, Miss Latasha Williams?
Hello, how are you?
How you doing, Ty?
I'm doing well. I don't see you, Mo, but I do hear your beautiful voice.
Oh, okay. I see you. It's
you
okay.
Okay, awesome.
We're live.
Awesome. I just hope everyone else can see your beautiful face, but for some reason,
Right.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Maybe because we kind of sharing the same space, probably too. It could be. I don't know.
Okay. But yeah, no, all is well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, Miss Latasha, I guess I just want to ask, and I'm looking. I don't see Mo anymore either.
That's okay. That's okay. I can see you guys. That's okay.
Okay. Well, I just want to go into it. I guess my first question is: we're here today. We're talking about wrongful conviction, or wrongful convictions that do occur. What, I guess, just initially, just off top, what are your initial thoughts on that topic right there?
Well, it's definitely an issue that needs addressing. I feel that as a society, we have made a lot of strides towards ensuring justice for all people who are criminal defendants in the court system. For instance, it was really only yesterday when we did not have motor vehicle recordings mounted in police vehicles, when we did not have body-worn cameras mounted to the person of a police officer, where interrogations were not video and audio recorded. So those are definitely some steps in the right direction to ensure due process, justice, and fairness. But we still have a long way to go. And that's largely in part due to the fact that there are still a lot of wrongs from the past that need to be righted. I'm sure everything is still not perfect today in real time, but there are so many cases from the 1970s, the 80s, the 90s, maybe even the 2000s, where we need to correct some of those errors where people were convicted for crimes that they did not commit.
Right. Mo, you still there?
I'm still here. I can see you guys. I can hear. We're having a little some technical difficulties, but it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you guys can hear me.
We can hear you. What are your thoughts, Mo?
She hit it spot on. Clearly, wrongful convictions means what? It's wrong, right? So, the ongoing thing with this, Tasha, would you agree? Was there like a certain era that it seemed like it was more of a high volume of wrongful convictions over, like, say now?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to look at just the different regimes, if you want to call them that. Looking at who was in power and who was, in position at various points in time. So if we take Philadelphia County, for instance, you have a lot of cases that were prosecuted under the regime of Lynn Abraham. And you look at who was the leader of the police force at the time. Mm-hmm. And because those are the people who promulgate the policies and the procedures in terms of their office. And so you look at who was in charge, and oftentimes that dictates, if and when justice was done in many cases.
Absolutely. I know I ask that question often actually because um sometimes you can get different answers. I know a lot of people feel that um the Reagan administration, like around that time frame, was how do I want to put it? The beginning of mass incarceration with wrongful convictions had started around that time. And I would say, what was that? Like maybe like the early 90s? No, yeah. No. That was like the late 80s. Am I correct?
Reagan was beginning, yeah, the crack era and
Right.
say no to drugs there. That
But in
whole
the 90s, I know for a fact that like about 30 something years ago, I remember being pregnant with my son. It just seemed like mass incarceration had just took off. Wrongful convictions, dirty detectives, you know, uh, you know, things, people like that. It had just taken off in that 10-year era. And so it's very disheartening when I come across, and I deal with a lot of guys and a couple of women who have been wrongly convicted. Um, so Latasha, in your as an attorney and what you've seen over the years, because you've been doing this over a decade, I mean over 2 decades, I'm sorry. Um, have you seen any I don't want to say improvement. Have you seen anything that has actually knocked your socks off completely with some of these wrongful convictions?
Well, yeah, I have. Um, I've just seen very bad behavior by police officers, prosecutors. I've seen police officers threaten witnesses, to include me. I was once a witness in a wrongful
Mhm.
conviction case, um, and I was threatened. So to personally experience that, and at that point in my life, I was, a professional woman, you know, no criminal history. Not that um, if I had a background and were not a professional, that should subject me to harassment or coercion or threats. But just the fact that, well, if that happened to me, then what goes on behind closed doors. So yeah, I've seen a lot of things that would just make
Yeah,
people.
and it's true. Mothers being threatened, for their children being taken away, and they don't have anything to do with anything because they want the said children's father, or for whatever their reason is. It's money in this is money in this as well. So it's a variety of different things, but I know on my end of it, I deal with a lot of wrongful convictions, men and women, or people who have done excessive amount of time, and I see the mental health effects behind prison, and it's a lot. It is a lot. It's a lot, and it's just not fair. I often ask myself, how do people sleep at night doing these type of things?
right.
It's heart-wrenching. Can you agree, Life?
Yeah, wholeheartedly. I just got an opportunity. You hear about it all the time, and not to say that the guys that I was incarcerated with weren't telling the truth or were telling the truth, but you heard it often, and there was really no sense behind it. When a guy would say, "Oh, man, often I guess what I'm saying is the guy that was most guilty is the guy that was claiming he wasn't, right?" So right before we hopped on here, it was my first opportunity to speak to somebody that was actually wrongfully convicted, and I had to ask a question that I want to ask him right now because you just spoke on the mental health piece. So can we please bring our next guest up, if you don't
Yes,
mind?
we can. We can bring up the next guest who he's been home a few years now. He definitely was incarcerated on a wrongful conviction, and they took about I think it was 23 or 24 years of his life. And he's so awesome. He has great energy. He's just such a sweet, sweet, beautiful man. And everybody show some love to Marvin Robinson.
How
Hey,
you doing?
hey,
Hey,
what's going on?
Marvin.
How you doing,
Good,
sweetheart?
good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm chilling. Thank you.
Good. Oh, you're welcome. It's so good to see you. It's good to see you smiling. It's good to see you
Thank
in the
you.
free world. We love you. We're here for you. We're so apologetic of what has happened. And if you can just, just give us a quick introduction of yourself, and then you can go into what happened with you. We kind of time
Okay.
cap, so
Got you.
just cut and paste, cut and paste.
Okay.
But give it to the audience the way you want to give it to the audience.
Okay. Well, my name is Marvin Robinson. I was charged, tried, and convicted through illegal conduct by Harrisburg detectives only. I was handed a life sentence after facing the death penalty. Served 22 years, and in return of them 22 years, I ended up coming back down to Dauphin County Prison and going back and forth to court, and they ended up coming up with a solution on their end, so to speak, and dropped it my charge lower, gave me time served, and released me January 27th of this year.
This year. You
It
said you
was
said
this year. I'm sorry. I had said about, I thought it was about 2 years, but
It's
I
cool.
apologize. I actually did know that. I'm so sorry.
It's all good,
Yeah.
sis.
So Marvin is freshly new coming home, and he's so positive all the time. You can see and you can feel his energy through social media. When you speak to him, he's so grateful. That's one thing I love about you, Marvin. Like, you're just grateful. You can see how grateful you are to be home.
Thank you.
So real quick, walk us through that evening.
Um, I remember the day my at the time she was my fiance, and her grandmother owned a bar named Bucella's Bar and Grill. And that afternoon, I say about 12:30, 1 o'clock, excuse me, I helped her grandmother open up the bar, and I helped her, sweep up, take the chairs down, just helped out for the day. And it was me and another individual in there who also helped me. So in the mix of knocking everything off for the lady that owned the bar, we ended up playing pool. Detectives come in. It was Lau, Duffin, Hefner. They come into the bar, and the first thing they say is that I wasn't supposed to be in the bar, which wasn't true. I was actually arrested. I had a charge, a minor little scuffle in front of Bucella's with police, and I received. It was in the mix. It was like a possession with intent while scuffling with the police in front of the bar, and I went to trial, lost, but the judge offered me. He allowed me to turn myself in 30 days. So when I was in the bar, he asked me, when I was in the court, he asked me, was I working? And I told him that my fiance's grandmother offered me a job carting people for ID. He said, I don't mind you working. It's good you working. But he said, would you mind finding a job elsewhere? He said, I don't want you working in a bar. No problem. Fast forward, when the detectives, when Duffin and Heflin come in and Lau, they tell me that Hefner said he was sitting in the courtroom and he heard the judge say that I wasn't supposed to be in the bar, which was a lie. So it got to the point to where as though I was frustrated because they kept making it seem like that was the case. So willingly, I went down there to straighten it out because I knew I was in the right. I'm in a holding cell. Now, mind you, I went from about, give or take, about 1:30, between 12:31, I got in the bar. So it was around 1:30, 2 o'clock. I'm in the bar, and next thing I know, I go downtown with them. They got me in the cell. I ended up dozing off, from drinking, early on that day. So I'm in there. I wake up. It's getting dark. So when I kick on the door and I'm asking them like, what's going on, they tell me they were still trying to figure out what the judge is gonna do. Next thing I know, Duffin comes in, and I'm like, what's going on? They tell me, F that, the judge has more important things to do. We want to talk about this homicide. But right before they came and snatched me up, the woman who lied on me told me personally that the detectives was trying to say I had something to do with a homicide. But she said she had, oh my God.
You're on mute.
Your audio's out, Marvin.
Marvin, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
He had a phone call interrupt.
You're on mute. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
So I want to keep going. Let's see. We're gonna keep going anyways. Hopefully he can hop back up here. I want to get back into basically what he's saying. He did 22 years, wrongful conviction, and there he goes. Perfect timing. Marvin, your sound's still out.
This is his first time doing anything like this, so please just be a little patient with him, audience.
Do you see a microphone when your phone, Marvin? It'll say mic with a picture of a microphone. Try touching that.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
He'll
no.
hop back on in a second.
Yeah, he, about him, with his story, he spent all of that time in there, for something that he didn't do clearly, and dealing with crooked detectives and so on and so forth. And, it's sad, but this happens often, sadly. And I know for me, when I hear these stories, it's very heart-wrenching. And when I hear these stories, it's like, okay, it's the same story with a different face. You hear the crooked police, the crooked cops, and, the setups and the threats and like all of this stuff just to make their case or just to make a case for whatever reason. So I guess like my question too with that is, when this type of stuff is being done with these detectives or police or prosecutors or whoever, what are they getting out of it? Like, what do y'all feel that they're getting out of this? Other than what I hear a lot is some type of escalation in their position or monetary, because I've heard that often as well. But what do y'all think? Back,
Do you hear
Marvin?
me?
We
You
can
hear
hear
me
you
now?
now. Yes.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
I'm back. All right. My apologies.
You're
good
fine.
to
We
say.
know you.
Mo, you said what do we think that people that are part of the process of wrongful convictions, what do we think that they are gaining?
What do they? I mean, like, I hear, monetary to build up their, to elevate. I feel like some of them do it because they can. Just like a person when they cheat, they do it because they can.
Yeah.
So, but what do you think?
I mean, I guess really quick and not, and before I pass it back off, I on United States Air Force active duty. I was in the military. I was a heavy duty mechanic, but I was supposed to be security forces. So long story short, I'm on my way. The day before I'm on my way, my Italian girlfriend is driving me. I'm in an Italian neighborhood. White police officer pulls us over. He says that I'm not wearing a seatbelt. I got a seatbelt on me. I told him I'm going into the military. I can't get a ticket. If you give me a ticket, it's going to mess up what I'm supposed to be doing. He says he told me I don't care. He's like, I don't care. You're not supposed to be here. Chicago's segregated. A lot of people may or may not know that. And I experienced that, and it might have been on a low level, but it messed up my whole trajectory. I went from security forces, and honestly, I put it out there, hey, it is what it is. Wanting a career in the FBI and going that route or whatever I was going to do in law enforcement, to getting a ticket, messing up my route of employment, doing something I didn't want to do, and I became rebellious, and it spiraled me out of control. I got impacted by that. So
right.
I don't know. I think it was just somebody that had a bad mood, or was in a bad mood myself that day.
A bad day, sadly, probably. So Marvin, let me ask you this question. So
Right.
when a judge banged down the gavel and you got a life sentence,
Right.
what were you feeling at that moment? What were you feeling when you knew you had to probably go to Camp Hill? You got to go
Yeah.
through there in order to go to SEI Dallas or wherever. You know what I'm saying? And then once you actually got your home prison and you got that life sentence, what did you feel?
Confusion. It was like when first they before the life sentence came, I had to go through the death penalty phase. So I had to sit there and wait for the jury to decide whether they was going to send me to death row or give me a life sentence. And they ended up saying no to the death penalty. So when they said guilty to life, I didn't understand it. I know I remember looking back at my wife and my mom's and her mother at the time, and they was all holding hands standing up. And I remember as they was going down asking the jury the verdict, one of the jury members, I'll never forget, was crying when he said guilty. And it always stuck with me all these years because he was so emotional when he said guilty and he went to wipe his eyes. This man forgot he still had his glasses on. And that's when he took them off and then wiped his eyes. But when he went to wipe them, he had his glasses on, realized he had them on, took them off, and then wiped his eyes. I look back at my wife, my mom's, and my mother-in-law, and I said, you see how these crackers play? And I was just numb. So I went downstairs and I was asked, yo, what happened? And I remember my response was like, how I get life? How I get life? And I remember the sheriff that was used to taking me from Greene County back down to DCP. I remember him telling me that he was in there for the duration of my trial and how nobody said I had anything to do with it, and that I just got the time that I got because I wouldn't give up the guy that they claimed was the trigger man. But he was encouraging me to fight because he said, man, I didn't hear nothing negative about you. And got to Camp Hill. And it was crazy because when I got to Camp Hill, they ended up telling me I had to move out my cell and go to the hole because they said anybody that end up getting a life sentence has to go back there to get checked for psych evaluation. And I remember just being back there just in a zone. I can't even explain. I was just in the zone.
I want to pivot it real quick to Latasha because I'm just thinking about the process, right? The legal process. Can you speak to obviously you're running for judge. You're gonna get that, all right.
There she is.
if everyone comes out to vote,
absolutely. That's right.
We need everybody to come out and vote and be present, yes. Be a part of the process. But I want to ask you, Latasha, how important is it and why should people vote and get the right people into positions that are a part of the process when it comes to the judicial system, etc., to ensure that things like wrongful convictions don't occur or people are being represented correctly or, everything is being done right?
So in Pennsylvania, we vote for our judges We also vote for our district attorneys. We also vote locally for our mayors. So these are all important local positions because these are the people who are in position of power to make decisions. The mayor decides who will lead the various municipal offices, like the police department, the fire department, things like that. The district attorney decides who is going to be charged with a crime. And if so, what crime, what that crime will be graded as. And then, judges make all kinds of decisions from bail determinations. If we're talking, just talking about criminal law, since that's what we're talking about, but issues regarding bail, sentencing, of course, as well as evidentiary rulings determining what evidence comes into a case and what evidence stays out of the case. Also making decisions in terms of when the police have violated someone's rights. And these are decisions that are made in advance of a trial during the pretrial motion stage. So that's why it's important to vote, because of the people who are put in position to make decisions about your everyday life.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Make a lot of sense. Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, Leigh.
Oh no, and I wanted to go back to Marvin because the question I wanted to ask you, and you were kind of getting into it. That's why I stopped you right there at the same time. You're sitting in the cell, life sentence, or all whatever's going on, right?
Right.
You don't have nothing to do with this. Mentally, I asked you, how did you get through it? How do you get through that? Because it's tough doing time for a crime. I did time for a crime I was a part of.
Right.
It was tough to do that. I thought, but now I think about you and I asked you, but can you go into, because I'm sure people want to know how mentally?
Right. Honestly, I ended up losing, faith, because that was one thing I had. I was angry because when I first got sentenced, I was severely angry because I looked at it as God knows all and see all. He knows, if a person is lying, even if another person doesn't. And with that fact, I kept saying, well, he know I never had personal knowledge. I never had personal involvement, but yet I'm sitting here with a life sentence. Even though I had lost my faith, I had to make it my business not to entertain that I would never come home, because if I entertained that thought, I would have been lost. I wouldn't be here talking to you. What made me stronger is the fact that I was around individuals who was giving me positive feedback about staying strong, who knew about my situation, and I was dedicated on proving my situation because I knew in my heart that I never had no personal knowledge, no personal involvement. And with that being the case, I just knew I was coming home. The only thing that zoned me out and stressed me out to the fullest was the fact that I didn't know when. But what kept me strong was knowing that I didn't have nothing to do with it, and I know one day I was coming home. Before I came home, I ended up finding my way back to God, after, my wife came back in the picture and we ended up getting married before I came home. She played a major part in bringing me back to have a conversation with God. And it got to the point to whereas I ended up getting baptized before I came home. Nice. So that also helped me, stay strong. When she came back in the picture, that also played a major part, in me staying strong and fighting.
Yeah. And he loves his wife. I love you love your wife. Yes, you do. I
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
She's somebody that you was behind those walls with, that I grew up with. He's he speaks so highly of you. And he spoke highly of your wife as well. Stop. He
I
spoke, I'm
appreciate
sorry, he spoke very highly of your wife as well. So, like, it's such a beautiful thing how, you two are together. And, it takes a strong woman to do a bid with somebody as
it.
well. You know what I'm
Sheesh.
saying? It takes a
I know.
strong, strong woman. Life knows that. I love his wife as well.
Yeah.
Thank
She,
you.
they were strangers. They met, got married. And man, he came home to a whole queen. I
Yes.
mean, both of you. And it's a beautiful thing to have women on your side like that. Please make sure y'all always cherish them and treat them accordingly. You know what I'm
Always.
saying?
I'm locked,
Always. Always.
Always.
locked in.
Um,
I told her she can't. We locked in, and we're gonna live a long time, and she can't go before me. I'm
you
No
old
got
school.
that
question.
right. You got
I'm on the
that right.
same page. Same
Yeah.
page.
I can't. Hey,
So this is let me ask this question before I ask Tasha her question, and we'll probably pretty much phase out after this. When you touched down and you came out of the belly of the beast that day, um take us there with you when you were walking out, when as soon as you walked out the door.
Oh man.
Who was there? What happened? What was the first thing? Did you eat? What did you say? Did you
Um,
cry? Did you?
the first thing once that judge had got the paperwork ready and stated, everything he stated, he gave me my probation conditions and said, "That's it." And my lawyer was like, "Come on." So the judge ended up calling me back. He said, "I'm waiting for you out here." So the judge wanted to go into further details about my probation stipulations. And after that, I walked out and it was my wife and my attorney standing right there. My knees, you ever seen the eyes? How Michael Jackson, when he got off of that
yeah,
thing and he couldn't get his balance,
yeah. I know she's. Yeah,
that's how it was when I walked out. And it's crazy because before my wife hugged me, my lawyer came to me and gave me a big hug and said, "Come on, I'm taking you to get some real food." Then my wife jumped on me. She said, "Babe, we did it. We out. You out here." I knew it. I always had my faith in God. We just ain't know when, but God told me this was gonna happen.
I
And
love it.
first, it was a chicken cheesesteak sub that I
Oh.
tore up in the mall. Then when I got home, she
You had to
asked
go
me
to the
what's the first.
bathroom.
I went in the bathroom. Yes. And when I went in that bathroom, she said, "What you want to do?" I said, "I want to take a nice hot bubble bath
yeah.
with a sip of wine on the side." Matter of fact, I'm lying. It was a glass of Hennessy on the
Mm,
side while I was taking a hot bubble bath and just collecting my thoughts of the whole 22, like everything that I went through, all the rejections that I've encountered, um, all the lawyers that the court kept appointing me because every court appointed attorney I had withdrew from my case and they
mm,
never gave me a reason why. I went through like 7 to 8 court appointed attorneys who would stay on my case, ask for an extension of time. Next thing I know, 3, 4, 6 months later, they're granted to withdraw, and I would get a letter from the judge saying that they withdrew. Here is another attorney by the name of such and such to represent you in your PCRA action, and it just went down the line. It wasn't until again when my wife got into the picture, and we ended up talking about how the lawyers were selling me out like a concert ticket, and she said, "What you want to do?" And I said, "I know a lawyer out Pittsburgh named Cooley, who I talked to years ago, but financially I wasn't there, couldn't afford him." And she called him, they talked, we talked, and here I am today.
amen. I love it. Oh man, what a story.
Thank you.
Absolutely incredible. Tasha,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Attorney Latasha Williams. So Marvin just gave us, the hoops and jumps of them keep giving him public defenders over and over and receiving those letters. So when people and I've seen that several times as well, Marvin. That
Right.
happens. What is the reason for that? I'm just curious. If you have the answer for it. If not, that's fine.
You asking me?
Natasha, as
Oh,
an
okay,
attorney,
okay.
like
My bad.
why do they do that? Is there a particular reason? He went through 8 attorneys, public defenders.
Yeah, it gets really tricky. So I practice that area of law that Marvin is speaking of, and it's a very niche area of law. Um, because you have criminal defense attorneys who do trial work, but that's very different from doing appellate work, which is also very different from doing post-conviction litigation. Um, and so I don't know that, these were attorneys who were well versed in
Mhm.
advocacy or post-conviction litigation. It's a lot of work, and oftentimes the attorneys who do it by way of court appointment, they have multiple clients on the caseload, and it can be just a lot of work because it's kind of like I live it every day, and you don't have a lot of resources at your disposal in terms of hiring experts, hiring investigators to help um, investigate the claims that the person is raising. And so I just feel that there are not enough competent attorneys who are practicing in this area of law. And so what ends up happening is, I don't know if they're giving the case a cursory review, but somehow, reach the conclusion that the case lacks merit. And that has all kinds of meanings.
Mhm.
I can attest to the importance of claims being raised in a timely manner. There are exceptions to timeliness, but those exceptions are very limited. So there are a lot of factors at play in terms of why an attorney may file what's called a no merit letter or motion to withdraw from a post conviction petition.
Okay.
Can,
Okay.
Monique, can I piggyback off of something Tasha just said?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
And she right about everything she just said. But with my situation, every attorney that I came across, they never sent me no friendly letter. They never gave me a reason why. And that was the big thing about it, because I'm like, okay, you're withdrawn from my case. And I always ask why. I never got a reason why. And she's right. If they feel as though you don't have no merit, they can send you a no merit letter and explain whatever issues you may have raised doesn't hold no weight. But in my situation, every individual attorney that I was appointed never sent me one paper stating why they was withdrawing. Instead, I got a few letters from the attorneys themselves saying they wish me the best of luck in my PCRA action.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Mhm.
Um, so were you on the same initial timely post-conviction petition for a decade?
For over 10 years, yeah.
I see.
I was on it for 10 years, but when you file, your time start how you have the 1 year from the
Mhm.
time you get denied. But once you put your appeal in, your PCRA in, it stops.
Mhm.
That whole time I was on hold for a little over 10 years, Latasha.
I see.
And it wasn't until I was granted to come back down to Dauphin County for the situation that we talking about now. And I think my second or third trip back down to the county, because they kept withdrawing because things wasn't going according to plan. So when I went back down, my lawyer ends up taking me to the conference room and said, "Hey, guess what?" He said, "Evans just found out through his law clerk that he made the wrong ruling the whole time." And that's
Yeah.
when everything else came in play.
So just to kind of break it down for the listening audience,
Right.
what Marvin is saying is that once a person is convicted and sentenced, you are entitled to a round of automatic appeals. And we
Right.
call that direct appeal or direct review. Once direct appeal or direct review has concluded and your judgment of sentence becomes final, you have
Mhm.
1 year from the date that your appellate review ended to seek post-conviction review. So it's like you get that one more bite at the apple. And
Yeah.
that's also the stage at which you argue that your trial or direct review attorneys were incompetent. And
Right.
so what Marvin is saying is that when his case became ripe for post-conviction review, he never received a decision for basically 10 years because during the course of those 10 years, attorneys repeatedly withdrew from his case. Maybe attorneys got employment somewhere else and they had to leave for that reason. Maybe, for whatever reason, a myriad of reasons, they withdrew from his case. And then he looks up and it's 10 years later. And the issues that he raised in that initial post conviction petition had never actually been decided upon because no attorney um, essentially was on the case long enough to give an assessment of the merit of those claims. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, you hit it right on the nail, Latasha.
Thank you for
Okay.
breaking that down. Guys, we are nearing the end of this wonderful episode. We could probably get up here and talk about 4 or 5 hours, but there is a great event coming up where people can become more informed about wrongful conviction and hear other powerful voices, including some of the people that are up here now. You guys want to speak again to the event and any other things that you might have going on, like running for judge or anything else?
Well,
Is it?
Tasha, you can go ahead with with the address and stuff because I honestly don't have it in front of me. I
sure.
apologize.
Yep. So the town hall is tomorrow in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, at the Nativity School of Harrisburg. It is a middle school located in the Uptown neighborhood in the city of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The address is 2101 North 5th Street in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Registration begins at 4:30. The event will start at 5:15 sharp. We have a dynamic group of panelists as well as guest speakers. Insofar as the panelists who will speak about their respective professional backgrounds, we have Kalia Ali, who is an activist, Dauphin County District Attorney Fran Chardo, Jason Flom, who is the host of the Wrongful Conviction podcast and a philanthropist, Amy Gershenfeld Donella Esquire. She is now retired, but she is an attorney who has done work in post-conviction relief at the state and federal levels here in Pennsylvania. Honorable David Madsen, who is a Pennsylvania state representative. The one and only Monique Santiago, who will be speaking about her experience as a reentry specialist and prison coach. Elisa Lazari Strazier, Esquire. She is an attorney at the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office, specifically the conviction integrity section. And then Michael Muldrow, who is the commissioner for the York, Pennsylvania City Police Department. He may not be able to join us. Something has come up, but he is scheduled to appear. And then there will be other members of law enforcement present. My police chief, where I live, here in Susquehanna Township in Pennsylvania. But then we also have some guest speakers. And these are all gentlemen who were wrongfully convicted. You're going to hear about the different layers of wrongful conviction, like what that looks like in terms of the remedy, how they were released under what circumstances. So that's very important that we discuss that as well. And so Lorenzo Johnson, as Monique stated earlier, tomorrow marks the 6th-year anniversary of his release. His case is out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Jeffrey Deskovic, Esquire, who's now an attorney. His case is out of Peekskill, New York. Chester Holman III, his case is out of Philadelphia. Larry Trent Roberts, another case out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The one and only Marvin Robinson, who you heard a little bit about his case earlier today out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Marty Tankleff, Esquire, whose case is out of Long Island, New York. And then Tanisha Walker, who is the widow of Corey Walker. Corey Walker is the co-defendant of Lorenzo Johnson, again, out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I'm looking forward to a robust discussion.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I'm excited about it. I'm here. Yeah. I'm excited about it. Absolutely. So Marvin, I'm sorry, my dog. Sorry, relax. So Marvin, to leave us to end this beautiful conversation, what is some advice? What is one thing you would tell those who are sitting in prison on wrongful convictions? Do you have anything to say to them in reference to advice, or do you have something that you just want to say and let them know?
I want to say to the people that left behind, and in general, even my little brother. I have a little brother that's also incarcerated for a crime that he didn't commit, and he's out here. And he was sentenced by, a judge. Matter of fact, he was sentenced by the judge that's about to retire soon, Judge Lewis. And his name is Alex Lovejoy. And I tell him the same thing I told him, I'm telling everybody else. Stay strong. Don't give up, because anything is possible. Soon as you think that it ain't going to happen, just look at the fact that what if it does happen? A high judge once said, it is far worse to convict an innocent man than to let a guilty man go free. I always held on to that too. And I asked the brothers that I left behind and the brothers in general that's facing life, definitely jail time in general, keep in mind possibilities are real and it can happen. It happened to me even when it happened to me. And I thought, there was times that I thought it was going to be a wrap. And it was times that I knew that I was coming home. I just say, keep that hope, keep faith. Because it wasn't until I found God, honestly, that's when I ended up seeing things move. My wife always told me she believed the reason why things wasn't moving the way I expected is because God was waiting for me to have a conversation with her. And it's crazy she said that, because it wasn't until I actually let go of my foolish ego and stopped being a knucklehead, prayed, and I kept it consistent, things started to move forward. And here I am being blessed by 3 individuals who allowed me to talk about my situation.
Indeed.
We appreciate you, bro. And there you have it. Marvin Robinson, wrongly convicted. He's home, and he has been home since the beginning of this year. I know things have not been. I know things can be rough when when you return home, or whatever. Do you have a Cash App or anything? I never do anything like this, but do you have a Cash App, a PayPal, or anything you want to put out
Yeah,
there?
I just got put on to one of them. So I got one. I got a Cash App.
Go ahead and say it.
My is Robinson Marvin 0822 @gmail.com.
That's your email. What's your
Oh
Cash App?
shoot! You know what? I'm tripping. I am
I'll do
tripping. I
it.
am so
I'll
sorry.
post it. I'll post it. Don't worry about it. You'll hit
I'm
me up later.
tripping. I am
No,
so
you
tripping
look,
right
you
now.
look, you're learning. You just did 20 something years in prison. You just got home, so you're learning. You're learning. And look, it's okay. It's
YouTube,
Oh
okay. Like
man,
life, it's okay.
that was
YouTube,
crazy right there.
Yep.
YouTube is your friend.
Yep.
Attorney Latasha C. Williams as well. Thank you for joining us for second time up here. I'm wishing you guys to have a great and impactful event tomorrow. I am in Atlanta. I am not in PA, so I cannot come see the event. But hey, I will be there rooting you guys on in spirit. So I just for anybody that's in the event or in the area, take the time to go, be a part of the process. I think they said check-in was at 4:30. I might be
Yeah.
chopping.
Registration.
Most people are off work by then. It's on a Tuesday. Hey, pull up. And that's it, man. Till next time. Mo, you got anything really quick?
No, just thanks, Latasha. Appreciate you per usual. We will have her back on when it is voting time. Maybe we'll have an election party on that day live or something. We'll come up with something
That would be
for
sweet.
her to get those votes in. I will be sharing her, of course, her stuff like I always do on Travion Blunt's page. If you are not connected on the Travion Blunt page, please on Facebook. It is Fight for Travion Blunt. He has thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, and so I'll be posting things there on my page. We need to get her in office. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She's going
Yeah,
to be fair. She cares, and she's going to do what's right, like she always has done since I've known her over 15 years. So vote for Latasha Shireen Williams, please, and thank you. Marvin, we love you. And if there's
thank
anything
you.
you need, if you having low days, if you having high days, if you're not feeling confident, if just call myself, we family. Call Life. Life is incredible. Advice, everything. He's just a super duper dope
All right.
guy.
All right.
Nah, he more than I.
Depends
But
on the day of the
yeah,
week.
just hit us up. All right. Well, he disconnected. Okay. By accident. It's all good. And on that note, thank you everybody who's tuned in again. We appreciate the support. We appreciate the love. I've seen some questions and stuff coming in, and I will go on Facebook Live or on YouTube or something and try and answer them to the best of to the best of my ability. All right.
And if you came late, this episode will be airing again live at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. And that's it. We'll catch you then. Till next time,
Right.
peace, love, and blessings. Y'all stay focused and most importantly, stay free. Free is not physical, but just necessarily as well as it could be mental as well. That's jewel of the day, man. Find your peace, find your freedom, keep going. That's it. We'll see y'all next time.